We are in a very strange circumstances, situation that we are find ourselves in with regards to COVID-19. And it has made us to change the way that we do things. Unfortunately for us, we are academic experts, but we are no health experts. So if there are parents who are into the health profession, we are open to suggestions as to how we can do best practices with regards to COVID-19 protocols and the procedures and stuff like that. So if there are parents who want to assist us in terms of enhancing the programs that we do with regards to COVID-19 protocols, we are happy if to accept those recommendations. But basically what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to give you a bird's eye view on what will happen on Monday when learners come to our schools. So these are the expectations that we have for learners when they come to school on Monday. So before they leave home, parents, please make sure that learners are wearing face mask that covers both mouth and the nose. And make sure as well that they are fitting our learners. Last year we had a problem of learners, yes, they were having masks, but especially the grade 8s and grade 9s, they were having masks, but the masks were just falling off. So they were not fitting them exactly. They were not to their sizes of their faces, those smaller faces that our grade 8s have. So it is a request that this year, before they leave home, please make sure that their mouths and noses are well covered with a proper fitting face mask. So what will happen is all learners will be screened and sanitized before they enter our school buildings. So this is a procedure that we are going to do when the learners come to school on Monday. Number 3, learners will be screened in the morning and in the afternoon before they leave school. This is done so that we can monitor if there are any temperature variances which we should take note of. Once learners are at school, learners will not be allowed to play any contact sport or run around during their break times. This is important as well. Last year we had a challenge with learners. Well, kids will always be kids. So one of them, they wanted to have the soccer ball so that they could go and play in our artificial soccer lawn. But this year, we're not going to allow any learner to do any contact sport or any running in our premises, as the schools will open on Monday. Staggered breaks will be implemented to avoid overcrowding during break times. Now, this is important as well. Learners have to bring their own water bottles, lunch boxes, utensils, and as well as their own school stationery, as no sharing will be permitted of anything whatsoever in school. Once learners share, either whether we're talking about food or pencils, that is an offense which will be dealt with by our disciplinary committee. Learners are responsible to report any symptoms to me or to their registered teacher or any staff member immediately. So we are going to do a training for learners on Monday with regards to COVID-19 and the symptoms that are used to determine if a person could have COVID-19 or not. So if learners, even at home, before they leave home, please make sure that they are not showing any symptoms. If they are showing symptoms, please do not allow them to come to school, and you can inform us thereafter. We will make some arrangements so that learners are not left behind on their learning. Learners are expected to observe social distancing at all times. Now, these are the corrective measures that we are going to do if learners are transgressing on our rules that we have with regards to COVID-19. If a learner fails to observe any COVID-related matters, she will be written on tracker and a parent will be informed. So we will contact parents if learners are not observing the rules. Number two, if a learner transgresses for the second time, the learner will be put on isolation bay and the parent will be contacted. And we're going to ask parents to fetch those learners or the learner will be sent home. So in other words, we are trying to, how can I put this? It's not our aim to send our learners home. However, if learners continuously fail to observe COVID-19 rules, those learners will be sent home. So we are pleading with parents, please have a discussion with your learner or with your child with regards to COVID-19 and what is that is expected from them. As a result, if a learner continues to transgress, this will result in a learner suspended after a disciplinary hearing has been conducted in the presence of a parent and of a guardian as well. So these are the measures that we're going to do this year if learners are not observing COVID-19 rules. Mr. Masego, can you then please share your slide with us so that we can have a look at what is going to be happening on school on Monday. So on Monday, once learners have been screened, what is going to happen is when they get to school in the morning, teachers will be there waiting for them. We are going to do our screening in the morning, and then these learners will go to these respective venues for their registered teachers. So the grade 8s will go to the car park, grade 8B and 8S. Then grade 9B and 9S will be at the car park. In other words, the car park, I think most of our learners who have been in our school, they know where the car park is. The grade 10s will go to the hall. That is where they will find Mr. Tafuma and Mr. Mayor, and 10V, Ms. Tutang. The grade 11Bs will go to the tuck shop part. Mr. Mugabe will be waiting for them there, and the grade 11Ss as well. The grade 12s will be just in front of our school premises. There are benches and on grass there. So the grade 12B and grade 12S will be there. Their break times, as I've said earlier, they will be staggered. However, whenever they are going for break, the grade 8Bs will be stationed at the car park, and the grade 9s. The grade 10s will be at the artificial lawn during break time. And the grade 11s will be using the tuck shop part, and the grade 12s will be. So whenever you come to school during break times, the learners that you'll find next to our admin office, those learners will be the grade 12s of this year. The procedures and the rules and all things that have to do with COVID-19, we are going to do the training for learners when they get to school on. If there are any questions, I think Mr. Masego will give parents an opportunity to ask questions at the end of our presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mpontshane. Before you leave, there are some questions regarding your department that maybe you can address before Lawrence and myself move on to the frequently asked questions. So the first one is, do we offer art and religion as extramurals?
Art and religion. We do have, last year we had a program which we had in our school, which had to do with a Bible class group. Unfortunately for us, last year we had about 3 to 4 learners who were attending that program. So the plan that I have with regards to extramural activities, this is just the benchmark of what we are going to do. However, we are not limiting ourselves to these activities. If there are learners who are interested in an activity, let me say if I've got more than 5 learners who are interested in any activity, we are going to introduce that activity at the school as well. So with regards to the art as well, if I have a number of learners who are more than 5 who are willing to do that activity will be introduced in our school. So this is based on the learner interest that we have in school at this point in time. Well, we know that most learners would like to play soccer, netball. Unfortunately, at this point, we can't do that.
Thank you. So I will add to that on Monday, all learners will receive a form that they will have to bring home to parents to complete. And part of that form includes which extramural they've selected. So if there is one that your child would really like to partake in that is not on the form, please add it in there. And then Mr. Mpontshane will give all of us feedback as to whether or not there was enough interest. Next question, Mr. Mpontshane. Do we run formal assessments to establish students' inclination? For example, linguistic, logical, autistic, etc. If yes, can they be shared with parents so that they may be able to support students appropriately?
We have not done it in the past. Can I get the contact details of that parent who asked that question so that maybe I can engage him or her on Monday so that I can have a clear understanding what is that they want us to do, if possible.
Okay, will that parent please share their contact details? And then I do think that is something that we could really look into doing. But as Mr. Mpontshane said, it's not something that we currently do. But if any parent has any suggestions, or perhaps we can also speak to Mr. Maseko about ascertaining where exactly learners' strengths lie. Next question, do contact sports include PE? I think you might also want to refer to HOD Humanities on this one.
Yes, I think so. If Ms. Swane could attempt this one.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Zandile. So, hi parents. Currently, the annual teaching plans or the curriculum has accommodated phys ed into the LO program. But our phys ed would need to follow the COVID regulations. But because we have small grounds and it may be difficult to do this, we will find out during our subject meetings that should be conducted when government schools return back to school, so that we can figure out if it will be possible to engage in physical education. So we can only respond to the physical education question once we've had our life orientation subject meetings and that question has been raised with the district and the Department of Education.
Thank you, Ms. Nswane. Next question is regarding, will the entire school be back? I will answer that in the frequently asked questions. But perhaps, Mr. Mpontshane, you can just respond to the second part of the question, which is, if the entire school is back, how will we ensure that everybody is socially distancing?
Okay. What we have done as a school, number one, as you would have seen on my presentation, learners are going to assemble at different points in our school. We're also going to do staggered breaks. In other words, not all learners will be outside the grounds during any particular time. On top of that, for each and every break time that we are going to have, we are going to have educators assigned to those breaks just to make sure that learners are observing social distancing. However, I think what we can do as parents as well, as opposed to focusing more on corrective measures, I think it is our responsibilities together as us teachers and parents as well to educate our learners with regards to COVID-19. I think the best solution to observing these rules is that learners have enough information with regards to what is that is expected from them to do, as opposed to policing them. So we plead with parents as well to have a discussion with learners with regards to COVID-19 and what is expected from our learners. We are going to do it as a school, but I think we need to have a partnership with parents so that we can communicate the same message to our learners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mpontshane. Here, here. How many activities can learners do? Mr. Mpontshane, next question is how many activities can learners do?
Sorry, Len, I just need to plug my laptop quickly.
Okay.
My battery is almost running out. Okay, I'm back. So the plan that I had for our school with regards to extramural activities was that for each term, we were going to do different types of sports or activities so that the learners could be exposed to different types of activities. However, per term, a learner could do only one sport or one activity. And then if a learner is interested on a different type of activity, the learner can change in the following term. So per term, a learner is expected to be on one activity. This is just a control measure that we need to have, because if learners can choose during the term, problem, we have not learners. Some of them, you may think that they are in a certain type of a sport, whereas they are not there. They are hiding somewhere. So the rule that we have as a school is that a learner per term can do one sporting activity or cultural activity. If a learner is interested in changing the activity, they are allowed to do that at the following term.
Thank you. Can you also perhaps just tell parents about how many learners can do any one activity?
Thank you, Leah. At this point in time, I cannot prescribe, because some of the activities will be determined by the equipments that we have for that particular sport. For example, the likes of marimbas, that will be determined by the number of instruments that we have in school. Same thing likewise in chess. So that is an admin issue which I can only determine once we are at school based on the number of learners that we have at that particular sport.
Thank you. I think it's just important for parents to keep in mind that we are doing these cultural extramurals while keeping COVID in mind. So when the venue is at a socially distanced capacity, your child might not be able to take that particular extramural, just so that we keep safety at the forefront of everything that we do. Next question is, will the tuck shop be open on Monday?
Unfortunately, the tuck shop will not be open on Monday, but it will be open on Tuesday. And one, we need to make sure that the tuck shop has been deeply sanitized, and has been deeply cleaned. And I did not see that happening on Friday. So I cannot allow it to open on Monday. So on Monday, we will be doing some preparations for the tuck shop, doing some markings on the steps as well, just to make sure that learners are observing social distancing. But on Tuesday, the tuck shop will be open.
Thank you. And then I think the last question for you for this round is what will happen in an event of a positive case being identified, be it staff or, God forbid, a learner?
Can I give that one to you?
Okay, sure. So in the event that we do identify a positive case, the first thing that we do is contact tracing. So the first thing that we determine is how many other learners and or staff members are affected. If it is something that could have been widespread in terms of that, you know, there were many learners breaking regulations, then we isolate every class in its classroom, and the school management team then has a meeting and also gets into contact with the health department and the education department for them to come to the school and assess and decide what we need to do. If, however, there has been no breaking of rules and regulations, and it's only one learner or one member of staff that's affected, then that learner or member of staff is immediately taken to the isolation bay, which is outside of the school. So it's not inside the school building, but it is in the staff parking lot. And then from there, we contact the Department of Education as well as the health department for them to give us some guidance. Last year, we did have one case where we did have to close the school. However, we did that as we were being extremely cautious. So we did close the school for 5 days while we did some deep cleaning, but the virus did not spread to anybody else and no rules had been broken. So within 5 days, we were all back at school.
If I can add on that one, Leanne, as well.
Sure.
That is why it is important to parents as well. Before they allow learners to go to school in the morning, please just do a sort of your own screening at home to check if a learner has a temperature, a sore throat, or any of those symptoms. Last year, we did have a case of a learner who tested positive for COVID-19. Fortunately for us, we were able to pick up at the entrance gate the symptoms of that learner, and the learner was isolated. And we called the health department and we advised them to do some testing, and the test thereafter came positive. But fortunately for us, because the learners were being screened before they enter our school premises, we managed to prevent any transmission of COVID-19 to our school. We also did the contact tracing as well with regards to that learner, and we discovered that that learner had not been in contact with any learner. As a result, that is what we do to make sure that there's no transmission of COVID-19 in our premises.